night, everybody. Thank you for coming. I wanted to start out first with the Gemara. Gemara says in Gemara Shabbat, Kuf Yudchet Amud Bet. Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yossi, Yeh chelche me'ochle shalosh seudot b'Shabbat. That Rabbi Yossi says, may my portion be as great as those people that eat shalosh seudot every day, every Shabbat. Amar Rav Yossi, but there's another Rav Yossi that he also says, Yeheh chelchi megomel halal, megomre halal b'chol yom. My portion should be as great as those people that say halal every single day, right? So Gemara has a question. What do you mean? You can't say halal every day. It's kofar. You cannot do that. You're not allowed to. Why? It's as if you're blaspheming the name of Hashem. How could you say halal every day? So the Gemara says what? What is this talking about? Pesukei de Zimra. He's talking about Pesukei de Zimra that we say every day. He's talking about a person. He says, my chelek, my portion should be like the person that says every single day that he says the whole Pesukei de Zimra, and he says it. Now, if you look at Rashi over there, Rashi by Pesukei de Zimra, he says, what's considered Pesukei de Zimra? He says, Hailuk, there is two Hailukas. There's Shenem Mizmayim Shehailuka, Hailut Hashem Min HaShamayim, and Hailut B'Chodsho. This one, Baruch Shamar, Ashrei, and Yishtabach. That's what it says. That's what it was then. Now, just a little bit background before we even get to the whole shiur. The soldiers in Eretz Yisrael, we have, this pasuk is used for them, but it also applies here. There's a pasuk in Vayikra that says, V'radfu mikem chamisha me'a u'me'a mikem revava yirdofu. That if you're 5 of you, it's going to kill 100, and 100 of you, that does 100 of you, is going to chase 10,000 people. They're going to kill. The importance, just telling you, as applies to the soldiers, if you look, if we keep the mitzvah, if we do everything right, how powerful we would be. And also, it also applies to our davening. If we come on time, if we actually part of the minyan, how much more important it is when there's more people davening, the more people are doing it together, and that's how important it is. Just to quote a Zohar as well, the Zohar says that a person's tefillah, when he's in a sibur, even though it's not accepted usually, but if it comes as a sibur, if we go together as a sibur, then how important it is. Now, let's get to the topic, get to the facts to say what we need to say if we come late. Unfortunately, this is a halacha that we have to say, but really, there is no good answer of what to do when you come late. Everybody tells you, the angel that learned with Rav Yosef Cairo in Sefer Magid Yesharim, is it? Yeah. He told them that you should make sure that you should never come late. You should never come late to the issue. You should never come late to the tefillah. They should always try to make sure to come early to say everything properly. Now, there was an Aruch HaShulchan that I saw that explained different parts of Pesukei de Zimra and why we say it. So I thought maybe I should start out with that, then go into skipping it, what to say and what not to say. So we say Hodu, we say before Baruch Shamar. So the importance of Hodu, why do we say Hodu every day? The Aruch HaShulchan says the reason why we say it every day is because David said it every single day before the Aron HaKodesh. That's what he did, right? Then we have Mizmor LeTodah, that's part of Pesukei de Zimra that we say every single day. The Aruch HaShulchan brings, it says every single Mizmor that we have is all going to be annulled. We're not going to say any of the Mizmorim anymore in the future. The only Mizmor that we're going to say is what? Mizmor LeTodah. And that's why a person should be careful when he says Mizmor LeTodah to say it with a song, And the last one, from the Aruch HaShulchan brings the Vayivarech David and Az Yashi, and how they go into the 13 different attributes in Yishtabach, that we say in Yishtabach. So now, we have, I want to look inside the Maran. The Maran Shulchan Aruch tells us exactly what one should do if he comes late. Obviously, it shouldn't be a habit that a person comes late. This is only talking about that if someone comes late and there's no other minyan. But if there's another minyan, a person is not supposed to skip and daven with this minyan. The whole reason why it says that because there's no other minyan, you have no other choice. That's why you should do it. So it says, the Maran says, if you come late, you say what? You say, I want to make sure to say it correctly. The Moran says, you say Baruch Shamar, Ashrei. The third Halaluka, the same one that the Rashi brought in the Gemara that we talked about, the Halu Min HaShamayim, Halu V'Chodsho, and Yishtabach. These are what you're supposed to say if you come late. Then, from then on, from Yoser until the end, you continue as it is. You cannot skip. You have to say all of them in order.
So Baruch Shamar, the first bracha.
Yes, Baruch Shamar and Yishtabach. Baruch Shamar, Ashrei, Halu Min HaShamayim, Halu V'Chodsho, and Yishtabach. These are the ones you say. Just to point out, Gemara, I forgot to say before, Gemara Brachot says a person that says Ashrei 3 times a day is Zocher Be'olam Haba, and that's the main reason why we say it. That's why everybody holds that Ashrei should be said by even if you come late. You have to make sure to say it. The Yalkut Yosef brings this down, and he goes a little bit step further. He goes back and he says, if a person comes late, what should he do? Let's say he didn't say Bikar Shacha, he didn't say anything. What should he do? So he says, first you come, you wear Sisid and Tefillin, right? Then you say, you didn't say, we're assuming that you didn't say Bikar Shachar. So he says to say, you say Elokai Neshama. Then after, only until, only Elokai Neshama, not any of the other brachot. And Bikar Torah, he says to say. Right? And then the rest, he says the same thing like the Maran. Right? So you need to make sure to say those. The reason why he says to say those brachot is because when you say Yoser and a bunch of those brachot, you might pater yourself from those brachot. So therefore, he says to say brachot of Elokai Neshama and Bikar Torah. The rest you could say later. Happens to be, it's a machloket between poskim. Even the other brachot that you could say after, I don't want to get into that. Avad Olam, I'm sorry. Yes. Avad Olam. Thank you. Right? In Avad Olam, if you don't say Bikar Torah, then you might be Yosef. So therefore you have to make sure to say those brachot. Now, that's during the week. This is according to the Pashtanim. Now, if you go according to the Mekubalim, it's a little bit more difficult, because there's more to say and what to say. There's a different order. There's a different inyan. The same Malach that was learning with the Bet Yosef, that he told them that if you skip different parts of Tefillah, you're going to move around the pipelines. It's going to be messed up. There's a big machloka between the even Mekubalim whether you should even skip at all ever. Because anytime you skip, you're mixing up the pipelines. You're going to have an issue. So Kaf Chaim holds that you should not skip at all. You should just continue, do regular davening, and if you miss Tefillah b'Sibur, meaning Shemona Esrei with the Sibur, so be it. We're not going to skip. The Or Lesion as well, he brings it down, he brings the same thing, but he says something very interesting. He says someone that comes late, we're going to tell him to not skip. It's better not to skip, because if he learns to skip, he's going to do it normally. Therefore, we fine him. We fine him that he's not able to daven Tefillah b'Sibur, so he learns to come back early next time. Right? That's what the Or Lesion says. The Rav Palim, the Ben Ish Chai, the question response for Ben Ish Chai, he makes a little bit of a concession. He says, you're right, you're not allowed to move around the pipelines, but there are certain things you could say, partial parts of every single one, and therefore you could be Yosef and make everything. So he says, you first say Lefikach, you say Shema Yisrael and Korbanot. According to Kabbalah, it's very important to say that Shema. So that Shema, then you say the Baruch Shem Kevod, you say the Hirason of Shetim Chol right after, the Hirason that comes right after. Then you have Parashat HaTamid, that's part of right before Ketoret. You say that. You say Ketoret, which is Tanu Rabbanan and everything, until Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. Then, then you say, if you have time, you say Braita Rav Shmuel, and you say, it's good to say Anab Koach as well, but if you don't have time, you go to Hodu, and then you start Baruch Shamar, Ashrei, the two Halukas, and Yishtabach. That's according to the Mekubalim. Now, what happens if someone is so late that he doesn't even have time to say all this? He doesn't have time to say anything. What is he supposed to do? So the bare minimum we said is Baruch Shamar, Ashrei, two Haylukas, and Ishtabach. But if he can't say that, then we go in order. We say Baruch Shamar, Ashrei, and Ishtabach. If he cannot say that, and he's even later than that, he can say Baruch Shamar and Ishtabach. The Maran brings Iman Dama, I don't know if we ask him like it or not. He says if you're really late, you could even skip Baruch Shamar, Ishtabach, everything. Just go to your or. But obviously, if at the end you come and say it, you come to, you want to repeat it, you cannot say the brachot of Baruch Shamar and Ishtabach anymore, because those go on Pesukei de Zimra, the brachot of Pesukei de Zimra. So therefore, just a small recap to make sure that, first of all, make sure that you don't come late. That's first of all. If you come late, it seems to be a big machloket whether what you should do, what you should say, what you shouldn't say. There's even a machloket of whether you should skip or not. I saw an interesting question that Rabbi Akiva Eger brings down. Let's say someone did Shemon Esrei. Let's say somebody came late, so he skipped the whole Pesukei de Zimra, right? So he started from Yosef Or. He said Yosef Or, he said Shema and everything. He started Shemon Esrei with the Sibur, but he forgot to say Mashiv Aruch. Right? He has to go back and daven Shemon Esrei again, right? So now that he goes back and says Shemon Esrei, does he say Baruch Shama Ishtabach with the bracha and everything and then say Shemon Esrei? Or he just goes to Shemon Esrei? What do you think?
You don't go back if you forget Mashiv Aruch.
Ashkenazim do.
Oh, Ashkenazim.
Yeah. Rabbi Akiva Eger was Ashkenazi. Right? Mashiv Aruch, they go back. So very interesting. He says you go back, you say Baruch Shama, Baruch Shama and Ishtabach because they're going on there, and then you start Shemon Esrei.
So what if you took your tefillin already?
Huh?
What if you took your tefillin off already?
You just finished Shemon Esrei. You remember you didn't say Mashiv Aruch.
No, the guy finished davening and he took off his tefillin.
Puts it back on, no?
So he puts it back on with the bracha and he goes back from.
Yeah, but he's saying you don't say bracha of Yosef or anything. He says just the bracha of Baruch Shama and Ishtabach, because you already said Yosef. It's that's very mixing up the pipelines. Wow. But that's what he says. But most people question on this. They don't like this because anytime you make a mistake and you have to go back, really you have to start the Shemon Esrei, next Shemon Esrei right away. You're not supposed to leave any space in between. So it didn't make sense. So according to Rabbi Akiva Eger, that Shemon Esrei that you did, it was nothing. It's compared to nothing. So therefore you go back and you say it again.
Can you say that at the end of the davening after Aleinu?
Yes. You could go back, you say everything except Baruch Shamar, the brachot of Baruch Shamar and Ishtabach. But you have to, hopefully you said beforehand.
And he would say the same
Let's say in that case, Rabbi Akiva Eger's case.
The what?
Meaning, let's say the person has to say, let's say someone just went straight to Shemon Esrei.
You can't do that. You can't say the brachot anymore. That's impossible to do. You cannot skip the brachot of Yosef and everything. The only time we do it is only by Arvit. So I guess we'll get into that. We have, let's say you come late for Mincha, you don't have an issue because you don't have any brachot before. So you just go straight into Shemon Esrei. If they're starting Shemon Esrei, you start Shemon Esrei with them to make sure to say Tefillah B'Sibur, right? But by Arvit, it's a different question. Arvit has brachot of Shema, has brachot of Samach Geula Tefillah, right? So what do you do then? So again, you have a machlokah between the Pashtanim and Mekubah. The Pashtanim, the Harvadia, and all those people will tell you could skip, say Shemona Esrei with the minyan, and then afterwards go back and say brachot of Shema and all the brachot. But according to Mekubayim, it's a big question because afterwards, if you say it, if you come and say all the brachot, how could you come and say the brachot if the brachot are going on Shema? You're supposed to say it beforehand. So therefore, according to them, you should miss Tefillah B'Sibur and just say it. And on the point of where to start to be part of Tefillah B'Sibur, that's also another machloket. Whether you should start Shemona Esrei with everybody, or do we talk about the Chazara? Chazara Dashas, you have to get in time to get into the Chazara Dashas. But that's a different topic.
What
So
about,
what's
what about
that?
Shabbat?
What do you...
What should be your goal of catching up with the minyan?
So I told the Rav I'm not gonna pass him. I just give the line.
What about Shabbat? What Shabbat we do?
Oh, thank you. I forgot to say. Yes, Shabbat. Shabbat is yes. Chazak Baruch. Yes, Shabbat. Shabbat again. You still have machloket between the Pashtanim and Mekubalim. Whether you should say Nishmat or not.
On that is machloket. You skip Nishmat and say Pesach.
Yeah, yeah. So the question is, according to the Mekubalim, Nishmat Kol Chai is very important. So therefore, you shouldn't skip it. So therefore, it's more important to say Nishmat than say the rest of Pesukei Zimra.
Shabbat morning is a little bit off topic. Shabbat morning with davening, you're supposed to daven. You're already doing Torah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to daven inside if you're catching up, quote unquote.
Well, if they already did Shemona Esrei, there's no catching up. There's no skipping anymore. So you have to say everything. The
Right,
whole
okay,
point we're
fine.
talking about is if you're trying to
fine,
catch up.
Davening inside while there's Kriyas Torah.
Right.
That's the question.
So you want to down? No.
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay, because I was told different things in Yeshiva. They were very much not to.
The Shulchan Aruch talks about if somebody's in the middle of tefillah and they call him up to create a Torah, what should he do? At what point is he
Oh,
allowed
calling
to
him
do it?
up, or I thought he was saying regular
No,
Shemona
no,
Esrei and
you
everything.
You see that there's no issue being in the room davening when there's create a Torah.
Yeah.
Could it get you out of potential things if you're davening outside the room? Probably, but I don't think it doesn't work that way. They're not gonna call you up during the.
No, I'm
By one instance, you shouldn't be davening by Erev Shabbat, by Mincha. You shouldn't be, if you come late, you should daven outside of the room.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's because if everybody was already
In
making
there as
Shabbat.
well, I was told that we were taught that if like Kriyas Torah Shabbos morning, same thing. I don't know.
In these cases where someone has to skip, does he go back after davening? and
Yes,
say it?
you go back and say it. The only things you cannot say again is the brachot of Baruch Shama and Shtabach, which really you shouldn't skip. But if it comes to it that you really had to skip, the Harvadia brings it that you could do it, and the Maran brings it that you could skip the whole Pesukei Zimra.
So what happens with Shemona Esrei?
Huh?
What happens with Shemona Esrei?
What happens with?
If the guy comes late and he wants to daven with the tzibur,
Okay.
Shemona Esrei, what does he do?
So if he comes late, he says Baruch Shama, says Ashrei, the third Haluka, Halu Min Hashamayim, Halu El Barucho, and
Yeah, but now they already
Yishtabach.
started they're about to start Chazara.
Oh, they're about to start, so he cannot catch up. He cannot catch up.
So nobody, he's already at that point. So what does he do?
What do you mean?
Go right and-
No, I'm saying
No, I don't
the
understand.
guy-
No, I don't understand the
guy wants to
question.
daven- That wants to daven b'tzibur with the Chazara.
Okay.
So what does he do in his Shemona Esrei in order to daven with the Chazan?
Oh, so he starts with the Chazan, and he
Does
says.
he skip anything or he says every bracha
No,
with
he
the
says,
Chazan?
he says every bracha with the
Even
Chazan.
Kiddusha also.
Yeah, Kedusha, everything, he says it. Ashkenazim are a little bit different. Ashkenazim, they hold it's very important to be there for Kedusha, to say it out loud with everybody before you start. That's why by Mincha, when they do Hechi Kedusha, they do it differently. They first say the whole thing and then do it. But and that is also another machloket, if you want to go that route. If it's considered tefillah b'sibur, if you're davening with the chazan, when he's saying chazara.
So what is it? It's
So,
tzibur or not?
So it's a machloket, that's what I'm saying. It's a machloket.
Like Shtarim and the Mekubalim? What?
No, in general. Between different poskim. I wrote it down. Yeah, I forgot. I wrote it down. Here.
Save yourself all the machloket and come on.
Yes, that's the point. The problem is, that's what I'm saying. Everybody that talks about it, all the Sfarim that talk about it, they're so bothered by it that there's like no answer. There's no answer. No one has an answer. Someone says this, someone says that. Everybody has.
Give answers. It makes you come on time.
Yeah. No, everybody doesn't. They don't know. They don't know what to do. That's the point.
They know.
There's Rabbi Kiva Eger that says that Friday night
Yeah.
you forgot to say Mashiach Baruch Mor the Geshem or one of these things. So he says, I think Rabbi Kiva Eger said that you can have kavanah by Be'in Sheva with the Chazan.
Yeah. That's on. You're talking about when Friday. Erev Shabbat was Ya'alev Yavo, and you skipped Ya'alev Yavo by Mincha. So by Arvit, you remember that you didn't do Mincha on time, but you cannot do Tefillah Nedava on Shabbat to say it's second Shemona Esrei. So therefore, you have to have in mind with the Chazan that says Mein Sheva, and make sure that he has you in mind.
That's Rabbi Kiva Eger who says this.
I don't know if it's Rabbi Akiva.
I saw B'Shem Rabbi Kiva Eger.
Okay, I don't know who says it. I just know that that's what you're supposed to do.
Meaning even according to the Sephardi poskim.
Yeah. Because you cannot do any, you don't have any other choice. You cannot say anything.
What if you missed the Anna by Minyan and you have to say you want Anna? And you say Vayavor?
You could say the Vayavor, yes. You could say it as long as you say with the Ta'amim of the Torah.
And then you really have to do like a heavy.
No,
that late, you
you
really
had
have to
it-
do it.
No, but you had to do it during COVID. What did you do during
No,
COVID?
that's because you had a
Why
long
did I do COVID? I didn't do it.
He said he had a long response answer. What do you mean?
No, he's saying you don't have to come late to miss Vayavor, you just daven.
Yeah, longer Shemona Esrei. Yeah, it's interesting. Poskim talk about other cases. They talk about, what was it? Let's say you're in the middle of Shemona Esrei and it's Hanukkah. You want to skip Ala Nisim so you could catch up to Kedusha. Can you skip Ala Nisim so you could
No.
get to Kedusha?
You have this discussion with my brother. It's
Mhm.
better off to daven with Kavana
Mhm.
and ask all your questions after you davening, right?
Mhm.
It's better off to ask all your questions after you davening. Do all your davening after your Shemona Esrei before on the Shabbat, and lose Kedusha.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So they're saying
Anything.
Ala Nisim in Shemona Esrei. Ala Nisim in Shemona Esrei. You're in the middle of Shemona Esrei. You're davening Shemona Esrei, and then you know that they start Chazara. If you say Ala Nisim, it's so long that you're gonna miss Kedusha, miss Sibur. So what should you do? Should you skip Ala Nisim?
You can't skip on Nisim deliberately.
So yeah, so they talk about if you started on time and you're gonna be late, that's one thing. But if you're starting late and you want to start with the Chazara or whatever it is, you need to make sure that you're there for the Kedusha.
I did see that.
So beautiful.
You can feel it on top.
Rabbi,